Good afternoon. My name is Peter Sherris. Welcome to the Rotary Oakland, the third oldest Rotary club in the world. For over 110 years, we've been welcoming both Rotarians and guests from around the world. And if you are visiting us today, please write your name and affiliation in the chat box, and we will recognize you later in the meeting. Today is a difficult time for us all. The murder of George Floyd has laid bare the flagrant injustices endured by the Black community for generations. The time to act is long overdue. Taking the long-term view is exemplified today by our celebration of our college students and scholarship winners is not enough. I'm asking the board of the club to consider and approve an unequivocal statement for public release in support of our commitment to advance equity and dismantle every racist policy and practice throughout our government and society. A little bit later today at 12:45, we will honor the NAACP who have asked for a moment of silence at 12:45 nationwide, and we will interrupt the program to accomplish that in honor of those such as George, whose lives have been taken without due process by agents of the state. We begin our meetings by reciting our vision, and then in unison, we say, Rotary connects us all. Our vision is that together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Rotary connects us all. Christine Watson, I ask you for a thought for the day, so please proceed.
President Peter, there are many important historical moments that happened today, like Tiananmen Square, like the right for women to vote. But I want to focus on where we are now. Please put up the next slide. Okay. The quote that I'd like the next, go backwards.
Go backwards.
Slide 4, please. The quote that I'd like to focus on today is, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We have been living this for the last 9 days, and all 50 states have been protesting, over 400 cities, and over 13 cities in 3 other continents have been in lockstep with us. This is truly a time where we need each other. Thanks.
Thank you, Christine. And Christine, I think both of us, even though it's a difficult time, both of us are pretty happy. We don't have to be asking people today for money, and we had a big event last Saturday night, and I wonder if you could tell us what happened at that event, please.
Oh my gosh. It was the conclusion of a very special period of time in your tenure, President Peter. So if you could put up the chart, I'd like to give the committee report. Thank you, that's a good one right there. For the 2020 virtual gala and online auction. We have many learnings from this event, President Peter. One is that Rotarians are incredibly flexible. I learned that. We went from no fundraiser to doing a live fundraiser on a boat, to doing an online fundraiser, to learning all about Zoom and how to manipulate every single feature. They do it all. There's a lot of good things that have happened with the virtual world, and I was hoping, Peter, you have a couple thoughts that you'd like to share there?
Well, that's a bit of a surprise, but yes, one of the big advantages to being virtual is that we are going to be able to have speakers talk to us who we would never have a chance of bringing them live, but they are going to be willing to speak to us virtually. So there's one big advantage, and I know that Seth next year And the Speakers Committee is planning on taking advantage of that.
And we can have a lot of parties virtually as well. Let's go back to the learning slide. I wanted to share with you that from last Saturday night, this was the first time we've done an online bid or an online auction. And we had 97 people actually bid on the different items that we had. We had 72 Zoom attendees. The top bidding items, and thank you for these donors, was the Big Tree Getaway week, the Russian River, and Nevada City. Those were our top 3 bidding items. Fund a Need, which this was our first time, of course, doing it online. We learned that Fund a Need, it likes to be stimulated with the human touch. And when we brought in our celebrity guests, everything went great. And we raised a lot of money online on Zoom, and not nearly as much was raised with the online piece. Fine wine raffle, we'll get back to that in a second. Our Fund a Need and 32 auction items were the 3 areas where we developed our income, and the total income was $106,000. And these events were very closely managed and supported by Pat Williams, who kept our operating expenses below 18%. Yikes. So we're pretty excited.
Christine, go ahead and go to that slide. I just want to thank you for the point of view of the club. The net income of this virtual gala was $102,000, of which we had to pay $12,000 in non-refundable canceled in-person gala expenses. So the true net was $90,000, about more than we have ever raised in our gala before. And it's mainly because of you and your efforts. So I wanted to thank you very, very much, Christine.
Oh, I appreciate that, Peter. But in closing, let me just say that my thank yous go on forever. I have the virtual and the live committee members, and I've tried to acknowledge them in the live oak. We have our entertainers on Zoom and the coordinators for our entertainers, our donors, our bidders, the people who just called me and said, let me help you, what do you need? 30 sponsors, our executive team, our ORE, and our Rotary Club of Oakland board members all stepped up, donated wine, and brought in that fine wine and fire pit gift that we gave away. And from that,
so Christine, who won that fire pit anyway?
Oh,
with all the wine
so
in it.
Exciting. It's Gio or Giovanna actually won, and we're happy to have her here today.
So thank you, Christine. Giovanna, what are you going to do with all that wine? Are you going to invite me over?
Can you hear me, Peter?
I can hear you.
Great. Well, at the end of my 3-minute introduction, Rotarians make a decision on what they'd like to do here at Uptown. I'm saving it for a Rotarian gathering, whether it be a celebration or fundraiser. It's up to you guys.
So Giovanna, we are having a lot of trouble with background noise, maybe from the shop. Is there any way they can quieten down?
I don't have anything going on in the office right now, so.
Okay, so let's go with your 3-minute introduction then.
All right. Thank you, Peter. President Peter and fellow Rotarians, my name is Giovanna Tanzilla. It seems absurd to talk about myself and my business when the world, the nation, and our community is in crisis. And so many are in pain and suffering, sandwiched in between COVID-19 and racialized police violence. We acknowledge and condemn racism and police brutality. Since I am here to do my 3-minute introduction, I will continue with a heavy heart. I was born in San Francisco of Italian immigrant parents in 1941. Yes, I am old, almost 80, and I am grateful to still be able to run my business. I have always lived a simple life and learned to make do with what we had. I never realized we were poor, as my childhood was filled with great Italian peasant food, music, and family. Papa would often say, "We are not poor, we just do not have any money." He would also say that someday I would understand, and I do. I grew up in North Beach and moved to Oakland, where I attended Oakland Tech. I graduated in 1959 and went to work immediately for AAA. I met my husband there, married when I was 20, had 4 children in 5 years, and was a stay-at-home mother until my children became young teenagers. I started work at Downtown Auto Body, excuse me, worked there for 18 years when my husband unexpectedly passed away. I was 50 and still had a child and grandchild at home, so I left downtown, mortgaged my house, and opened my own shop, Uptown Body and Fender, in 1990. Uptown Body and Fender is a community body shop. Not only do we do great work, have amazing customer service, we are a resource for anything to do with your automobile needs and can answer any questions regarding automobile insurance. For 11 years, we allowed schools and nonprofits to use our space for events and fundraisers. We were asked by the city to suspend these events after Ghost Ship. We now can resume using 500 square feet with a limited number of attendees. Since I was the recent winner of the wine auction, I will keep the wine at Uptown and have a Rotarian event after the shelter in place is over. Rotarians, send me ideas of what you would like to see done at Uptown for Rotary. Then we will run it by the powers that be and celebrate together. In the meantime, take care of one another, be safe, and may peace and healing come to our world. Thank you.
Giovanna, thank you very much. We love coming over to Uptown Body, and so we will definitely do that. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. All right, Ed Jellin. Ed Jellin, are you there?
I am here, President Peter.
Fantastic, Ed. So Ed, do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
We have some wonderful visitors today, which I'd like to introduce. Let me start, because it's a red letter day here. First of all, a former member of our own club, David Hicks, is with us. So welcome, David. Great to see you. And then Bruce Nye, member of our club, brought with him some guests. First of all, his daughter, Caitlin Nye, is with us. And Caitlin went to school with our guest speaker, Jenn Johns. So welcome, Caitlin. And then we have Jennifer's mom is with us here, Sharon Kravanis. So welcome, Sharon. And then let's see if I can see anybody else out there. Oh yeah, we've got some teachers with us today. First we have Jeff Rapson from Skyline High. And then we have Sandra Ernst from Oakland Promise and Casey Dolan also from Skyline High. So welcome, teachers. Great to have you with us. And that's my list, President Peter.
Well, thank you, Ed. We're always happy to have visitors and visiting Rotarians. Please feel free to come by anytime. We are a welcoming club, and especially when we get back to in-person meetings. Let's see, the time is 12:43. Fred Morse, I think we have time for your introduction, and then I will break for the 1 minute.
Okay, hello, I'm Fred Morse, co-chair with Mary Jiang and Steve Blair of the Saroni Lena Scholarship Committee. Since 1963, we have awarded over $1.4 million to more than 650 Oakland students. What is special about our program is that we assign each student a Rotarian to act as mentor and provide financial, emotional, and network support to the student throughout college and beyond. For the 4th year, Oakland Rotary is collaborating with the Oakland Promise, We'd like to acknowledge Sandra Ernst, who is here, who has helped over 1,500 Oakland high school graduates attend college. And thank you, Saroni Lena Scholarship Committee members. Please wave your hands. Great. And so Tristan Connor will introduce our first student when that's possible, Peter.
Fred, thank you very much. And so right now, in solidarity with the NAACP and everybody, people around the world, we will have a minute of silence. Thank you. Tristan Connor.
Thank you, Peter. So today I'm honored to be mentoring Astrid Amaya. Astrid has recently graduated from Skyline High School and is excited about studying computer science at San Francisco State University this fall. In addition to being an accomplished young scholar and committed volunteer, she is also a very talented athlete. Astrid has excelled at many sports requiring a variety of skills, such as basketball, soccer, badminton, and cross-country track, just to name a few. Astrid is a well-spoken, motivated, generous person, and I really look forward to getting to know her better over the coming years. Astrid has nominated Miss Casey Dolan as a teacher who's had a major influence in her life. Miss Dolan focuses on teaching her students beyond what's just in textbooks. She makes reading tough pieces of literature entertaining and relatable for her classes. And Ms. Dolan has become an important part of the Skyline campus who's changed so many lives and mindsets for the better. So thank you to Ms. Dolan and big congratulations to Astrid Amaya. The next mentor we have is Mary Jiang.
Hi, it is my pleasure to introduce Ariel Chan. She is a graduate at Skyline High School with a GPA of 4.4 and will be attending UC Berkeley. Ariel immigrated to the US from China when she was 5 years old. And at age 8, she was doing translation for her parents whenever it was necessary. While in high school, Ariel discovered the world of debate and joined the Bay Area Urban Debate League. Not only did she learn how to structure arguments, conduct college-level research, and write analytical papers, she also learned the power of communication. She was exposed to social issues and philosophy that she would have never otherwise learned about. I'm proud to be Ariel's mentor. Now, Ariel recommended Mr. Lisselman for the Teacher's Recognition Award because of his ability to educate and otherwise engage his students in historical and modern conflict that many others wouldn't be aware of. His class has furthered her interest in public international policy and is the main reason she's considered studying communication or history at Berkeley. Thank you. And now I will ask Pat Williams to introduce her student.
I have the honor of introducing Vivian Feng. Vivian graduated from Oakland High School where she excelled academically. Also, for 7 years, Vivian studied at the Shung Family Chinese Cultural Center and was ranked #1 in her class. For 3 years, she volunteered with Bildom on soup kitchen and environmental restoration projects, devoting more than 550 hours to service and leadership roles, and traveling one summer to Malawi, Africa, to help build a school. Throughout high school, Vivian also worked many hours every week in her family's restaurant. Vivian will attend UC Berkeley, where she'll major in business administration at the Haas School of Business. Vivian nominated English teacher Christopher Johnston as her inspirational teacher because he challenged her to become more reflective and pushed her to become a better writer. Now I'm going to pass the baton to Sam Miller.
Hi, it's my pleasure to introduce Edgar Galvez, who unfortunately had family responsibilities and could not be here, but he just graduated from Oakland High with a 4.0 GPA. He's interested in social justice issues. He will be attending UC Davis in the fall, and he is going to major in sociology. He was president of the Latino United Club. He was active in theater. He played a role in the Heights. He also participated in one of the Rotary High School speech contests. So we're thrilled that Edgar is going to be a scholar recipient of the Saroni Award, and I look forward to mentoring him as he's a success in college. And he nominated Mallory Logan, who was a teacher in 2 classes for him and inspired him to be a successful student. Thank you. And I now pass the baton to Janice Brigley, who will introduce her scholars.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to introduce Grace Hernandez. Grace recently graduated from Skyline High and will be attending UC Davis, where she plans on studying criminal justice and forensic science. Grace was a member of Interact Rotary and also Oaktown Proud Student Ambassador, where she impressed Mayor Libby Schaaf with, and this is to quote the mayor, her passion to uplift the city of Oakland. Grace was born in the United States, but has lived most of her life in Mexico with her family. She returned to the United States, to Oakland, in her junior year to live with her sister. And when she came back, her first teacher was David Lopez, and he has continued to be a strong source of support to her ever since. So I want to congratulate Grace and Mr. Lopez, her teacher nominee. I also have the honor of having a second scholar to mentor, and I would like to introduce him, and that is Kevin Huang. Kevin recently graduated from Oakland Tech and will be attending UC Santa Cruz, where he plans to study computer science. During high school, Kevin was a member of Interactive Secretariat. Born in China, he now shares the faced in assimilating these immigrants. He stays connected with his Chinese culture and family center in Oakland. Stephen Wright not only helped Kevin understand him grow as a student and a person. So.
Okay, Janice has been having difficulties with her audio, unless it's me. So the next person to speak is Robert Kidd.
Well, thank you, President Peter. It's my pleasure to introduce Jabari Kamala, a graduate of McClymonds High School. Jabari will be attending UC Davis in the autumn, go Aggies, where he will be studying electrical engineering. With Jabari today, I'd also like to introduce Brian McGee, an inspirational teacher at McClymonds High School, not only for Jabari, but for a whole host of other students that Brian has worked with. Welcome to all of you, and Jabari, congratulations to you. Now let me introduce Steve Blair.
Thank you, Robert. And well, it's my privilege to introduce to the club Brian Rasulo. Brian graduated from Oakland Tech and is planning to attend UC Merced this fall to study engineering. At Tech, Brian was in the Engineering Academy and participated in SMASH, the elite Stanford Accelerated Math program. Brian was also in the Padilla program, which focuses on the humanities. One summer, he spent 3 weeks in Tanzania working on a program to promote female empowerment. Brian is an athlete as well and was co-captain of the soccer team. Regarding the teacher award, Brian nominates Miss Marietta Joe for bringing joy and excitement to the classroom every day. Miss Joe teaches literature, history, and English. She nurtures the students while at the same time pushing them to strive for more. I look forward to mentoring Brian during his college career. And at this time, pass the baton to Diane Schaefer.
Hello, everybody. This is Diane Schaefer, and it is my honor to introduce my scholar, Torrey Swan, who graduated from Skyline. Not only did she do dedicated work through her years in Skyline, but she was the pillar of support for her family. She took care of her brother, sister, and cousins every day after school and weekends. And of course, this led her to be very self-sufficient. It gave her great motivation and support to be able to go to UCLA this fall. With her interest in social activism, reading and learning about different cultures, she's learning Korean. Her major could possibly be communication, political science, or finance. I so admire Torrey and her ambitions. Torrey's teacher who highly inspired her is Mr. Jeff Rapson. He consistently had interest and belief and support for Torrey to prosper in her education. Torrey was so pleased he had her back, and it made her realize that this is what it's like to have somebody who cares about you. Thank you, Mr. Rapson, for giving her that feeling. I know Torrey will be very, very successful in her endeavors, as she knows all how to deal with life experiences and the challenges that you face. She's already begun that journey. It is now my pleasure to introduce Gail Alkema and Karen Freeman, who will share more information with you. Thank you so much, and good luck, Terry.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. On behalf of Oakland number 3, Karen Friedman and I are so pleased to be here today to honor the teachers who were selected by the Saroni Lena scholarship recipients. They were chosen because of their contributions to the success of the students. We join the students in acknowledging their dedicated efforts. We are profoundly thankful for the work that teachers do and the difference they make in the lives of their students. As a token of our sincere appreciation, we are pleased to provide each teacher with a stipend for their personal use. Thank you. And now on to Fred Morse.
And thank you, Rotarians, for supporting the Rotary Endowment, which funds these wonderful students. I'd also like the students to stick around, as well as their teacher guests, to hear the rest of the program, as we have a great speaker coming up who I think you will all like. Back to you, Peter.
Thank you, Fred. What a great job you guys did. Technically, it went fantastic. I'm so proud of everybody involved, and congratulations to the students, and I wish you the very best. And I too actually am going to be working with Sam Miller once I'm through this episode. So I wanted to just say 2 things, if you could bring up my slides. First of all, I set a goal to have 1,000 likes at our Facebook page. And in order to do that, all you need to do is to type into your browser facebook.com, search for Rotary Club of Oakland. And when you get there, that bottom liked and like link just needs to be clicked, and it needs to show like. I would really appreciate it if everybody would take an effort to do that, because I'd love to walk away as president with 1,000 likes in Facebook. And then finally is we have our member satisfaction survey. Today and tomorrow are your last chance. Next slide, please. Today and tomorrow are your last chance to fill out that survey. It's easy to find. Just go to surveymonkey.com, and then it's on R and then Rotary Oakland Survey 2020, and you'll get to that. And so thank you very much. All right, so it's time for us to go on and introduce Allison Bliss. Please unmute yourself, who is going to introduce our speaker today.
It is unmuted. Can you hear me?
Thank you. You good. Go for it.
How lucky we all are right now during this tragic and historic time of heightened awareness of the centuries of injustices in this country to have the sort of divine timing of having Jennifer Johns share her music and healing work as a cultural first responder. Jennifer is a powerhouse vocalist, singer, songwriter, producer, activist, entrepreneur, and she uses her music to unify and uplift us. Jennifer has performed at the Kennedy Center, the Apollo, on stage for the NFL World Bowl and NFL Hall of Fame. She's taken her brand of Afro-diasporic world music all over the globe, from Denver to Dusseldorf, Los Angeles to London, and has shared lineups with top artists, including Miss Lauryn Hill, Black Eyed Peas, Mos Def, Ziggy Marley, many more. Jennifer's social justice work has her sharing stages with Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith, Van Jones. She's a fellow at Green for All, artist in residence at Food First. She's the first artist in residence at the Langston Hughes Center for Performing Arts Institute, and so much more. But I just want to say thank you and welcome to my personal muse and friend, Jenn Johns, for taking time for Rotary today.
Lift every voice and sing until earth and heaven ring with the harmony, harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. Oh. Arise. Eye as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, this rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on until victory Hello, everybody. It is so good to see you guys. Let me take my glasses off. I was running a little bit late earlier today. I was at the market with my husband. We just flew in, traveling from, God, where were we yesterday, love? We were in Ghana, my bad. So yesterday, we just flew in yesterday from Ghana, and I had this amazing conversation with this young person that I will tell you about a little bit later in my talk. But it is such a blessing to be home, and to be home at this time whenever we make it back to Oakland from all of our travels from all around the world. My husband must go to the market, and then we have to go and sit down with our family. It is playoffs time now, and my mother and he have this really wild bond around sports. They really are very dedicated to the Warriors, regardless of what has happened over the last couple of years. These two people are really bonded around the Warriors, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really a huge basketball fan until these last couple of years. I am so grateful to be here today, because as I was preparing with Allison and talking about how I would address you all today, we were talking about how much had changed. we lucked up and had a date on the exact day 4 years ago that I spoke to you all. It was June 4th, 2020, when we had this conversation about imagining another way of life. It was a really intense day. It was a painful day for so many as they were mourning the lives of Black bodies. But in particular today, as we sat together, many had split screens. They were watching George Floyd's funeral virtually, and it was a tough day. And so as I sat there with Allison Bliss just a couple of days ago, and we were just, you know, shooting the stuff, I won't curse on this stream, we were talking, and I was like, girl, what should I talk about? There's so much to talk about. And we just agreed that we would go over what has happened in the last 4 years. And so here we are, June 4th, 2024. And I can say that for the first time in my life, as a 45-year-old woman in African skin, I am proud to be American. It is a brilliant time to be alive. I am moved to tears. There's so much that has changed. I laugh because as we were coming from the market, I saw this energy of lightness at the market. Brother Gonzalez and my uncle were talking about their tricks of the trade, growing food and so forth. And, you know, with the laws changing so much, what we learned during 2020, when the meat had to stop moving across the country as it was, we learned a lot about the power of the medicine in our food. And so we were having this conversation, and then my husband looks at his watch and he goes, oh, babe, we gotta go because we gotta go watch this basketball game. And so as we're driving from the market and we get to the land where my family built this house, we're talking about this basketball game and how amazing it is that at the championship, I'll be singing the national anthem that we have adopted. So thank you for allowing me to practice that with you just a moment ago. But that we'll be at this game and that the basketball team is cooperatively owned by the players. 4 years ago, you couldn't have told me that that was actually going to happen. We were talking about having conversations around reparations in 2020. We were talking about equitable distribution of wealth. We were talking about transmuting the trauma of just this time. I would not have imagined that in 4 short years that Jay-Z and Steph Curry and Michael Jordan sat down and they had a conversation and made some real changes. So I became a basketball fan, not because I really understand what's going on, if I'm being completely honest with you. My husband and my father and my mother are still constantly like, no, it is not a touchdown, Jen, but it's fine. I'm proud to be a part of such a dynamic change and to be someone that they called on to sing that song. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I was telling you guys about my trip to Ghana. I spend a lot of time in Ghana. I actually spend a lot of time traveling in general. In 2020, as many of you guys know, I recorded an album of prayers. I was commissioned to work on a body of work that was really about inspiring people from around the world to get together around this idea that each of us are enough. And I had toiled over it and toiled over it. And on that day, June 20th, this is a little known secret, I just decided to bring it in. And I decided that I would make an entire album of prayers that would say, I am the one. and I would translate it into a host of different languages. And so I did that, and I find myself all over the world. So I've now been in China and Japan, and I've been all throughout the West Indies and all throughout the continent of Africa and all over Europe. We even translated some of the prayer into Gaelic. And so it's been really beautiful. But one of the most incredible things about this time is that I get to spend time in Ghana, where I have a lot of friends. And I've been building with my mentor, Alan Dones, who's actually a developer here. He just finished the West Oakland BART station, or my bad, it's the Mandela BART station in West Oakland. And so we were in Ghana and we were at this learning center. And it's super cool because, again, 4 years ago, I guess I would have maybe said I was at a university or a college or something like that, but I was at this learning center. And there was an article that came out in the States in 2019 about 1619. And it sparked this really dynamic conversation about reparations. And it sparked a dynamic conversation about the study of trauma. And since the Americas were really coming to appreciate the dynamic impact of slavery in 2020, as the world had slowed down because of the COVID virus, and that COVID virus was impacting people who were poor, and those poor people were Black. And at the same time, people were mourning the death of George Floyd. They were also going through this process of looking at what we could do differently. And so here I am at this learning center, and this young person is talking to me about healing from trauma, talking about how hurt people, and how to heal those wounds. And so I walked outside of this learning center, which is right at the Cape Coast. It's right at the Cape Coast Castle. So if you've ever been to Ghana, you know that there are slave dungeons that are right at the ocean in Cape Coast. And so we built this learning center. And if you know, museums take a very long time to build. And so my mentor and I were at the learning center that he built, talking with this young person and kind of scoping out with David Ajay, who is the architect, how the museum that we're working on now will really look. And so they were talking about wellness, and we walk outside of the learning center and into the garden. And this young person, she couldn't have been more than like 20. And so she's talking to me about the chemicals in your brain and what happens in your brain when you experience trauma. And she's talking to me about how when you experience trauma over a period of time, you're releasing cortisol, and cortisol is the fight or flight hormone. And then if you experience it over time too much, you get what she called an adrenal burnout. And I remembered that I learned this in 2020 as well. And so she was talking about how her and her friends had come up with ways through food and through medicines to heal these traumas in the mind. And as I'm looking at this young woman, I saw myself in her. I saw her dynamic will to just love. She had seen so much of the world. You know, we at the time, Black Americans, many of us were coming back to Ghana with our wisdom and our know-how, and we got dual citizenship. And she was talking to me about work that she was doing that would ensure that that wouldn't even matter. She said that her and her friends were building something that they were bringing before the World Council, such that we wouldn't even really need passports, just identification, that this group of young people got really clear that the world belonged to all of us, and that her friends in China and in Japan, I get choked up because it was just such a beautiful conversation. She said, I got to learn about the medicines in Japan. I have an auntie there now. She told me about this auntie that she had that taught her about these foods. And she felt like what a sin it would be for the world to continue to not know itself. So I sit here at this learning center with this young woman, and I'm telling her, okay, I got to get on this plane and get back to the States because I'm singing at this basketball game. I can't wait to be with my family and my friends on family land, and we're growing food too. So she's sharing seeds with me and she's talking about this stuff, and I'm talking to her and she's laughing about how silly it was that the United States used to only have two parties to vote for. So as we're heading on our way to the airport, she hops in the car with us, and she's just this really beautiful energy, this kid who sang with me and laughed with me as we were on our way to the airport. I think I've adopted a new niece. And so we were talking about voting. And she was telling me about when she was little and how ridiculous she thought it was that there were only two options. And so we talked about how in 4 years' time, we had created a diversity of options, that there was a more dynamic way to move power, and that the power was really with the people. And so over the last 4 years, our elected officials, I don't know, they caught the Holy Ghost or something, but learned that there was more out there and that no one was depleted, that there was no lack in sharing information. In fact, our power was in the diversity. And so our current president and vice president, it is so amazing to see a woman in the White House. I knew for sure that I would see a woman in the White House in my lifetime. And it is so powerful to see how that energy has transformed the landscape of the world. And so I am grateful to be here for the next couple of months from home, sitting here with my family, planning what is coming next, and working together to build this garden that we have at home. I am beyond grateful for the time that 2020 did for us. I laugh because I remember sitting with you guys just 4 short years ago, man. And I had cried. My eyes were swollen. My cheeks were chunky. And I had cried that day and the day before and the day before. I think earlier in the day I had spoken to a friend and said, this is like what, day 8 of the rebellion? And I'm humbled. I'm humbled because we managed to, in 2020, through the pain that we saw, through the trauma that we all experienced, that we understood that we were all experiencing a trauma. That was the year. I mean, I don't want to go back or nothing. I don't need to feel like that again. But man, that year was a year of courage. It was a year of courage. We decided that year to commit. We decided that year that we couldn't just send money, and we couldn't just say Black Lives Mattered. And we couldn't just say that we should have police reform. And we learned that year that we were all human. And we forgave ourselves for the parts of time that we forgot how divine our humanity was. Man, 2020 was one heck of a year. It was so beautiful when I think about it, how beautiful that struggle was, you know, like the conversations that I had that year, conversations I had with many of you after, you know, talking to you all 4 years ago. I'm just grateful that I can speak so candidly with you, as many of us have walked hand in hand. We've organized and we have persevered. We were persistent. There were times where our old habits came for us, and like my Auntie Jay would say, cancel. We said, no. We know that all living beings deserve food, clothing, shelter, safety, clean air, clean water, access to culturally relevant education, Wi-Fi, and a passport. And we did it. We did it. We had the faith. We had the belief. We knew that we knew that we knew that there was something beyond this microbiotic zombie apocalypse that we were living through at the time. We knew that we knew that we knew that something more dynamic was available for us. And so we just trusted. We trusted. And we trusted in ourselves, really. We trusted that what we had to give individually, that our individual work was enough. It was like the prayers that I wrote that year. We believed them. Each one of us. On June 4th, 2020, as we laid to rest, George Floyd, we set into motion something so amazing. We decided that individually, each one of us had something that only each one of us could give. And we gave it. And we gave it with our whole heart. And we forgave ourselves and each other for the times that we forgot how amazing we were. And so on this day, June 24th, just months before the next elections, a week before this basketball tournament, I'll try and remember the rules to the game by then. As I sing the new national anthem, I am humbled by our power and our willingness to love so deeply and to stand with each other so powerfully. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys in another 4 years.
Jennifer, so I remember 2020 as well. I remember discussing with my fellow members of the club what it was that we needed to do. And I remember asking Jennifer Johns for some help about what a club such as ours can actually do to make the kinds of changes that are so absolutely necessary in this country. You know, we've been giving scholarships and supporting early childhood education, and we've been doing work at the food bank and giving money to food banks, but it's not enough. So I remember her giving us some advice.
Yeah, we had a good conversation that day. It was so good. I remember thinking, I'm gonna know this guy for a good long time. And I am so grateful for the time that we spent together, because what we talked about was visioning. We talked about visioning. We talked about how, you're right, money isn't enough, that, you know, we had to sit down and imagine what it looked like, each one of us. And then we had to say it out loud, and we had to write it down. And we had to say it out loud and write it out down in community, because that way each one of us could hold each other accountable. You held me accountable so many times when I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, man. And you were like, no, Jen, no, you gotta finish that story. That's your story. I really valued our time together. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have probably a minute or two for questions. I've been looking at the chat box. I don't see anything at this point. But I mean,
I lost you. I can't hear you.
my video appears to be good. So anyway, I have a question from Allison Bliss. Where can we follow Jen for those who need more uplifting? And this was incredibly uplifting, Jen.
Thank you. Well, you can go to my website, Jenn Johns, JENNJOHNS.com, and you can purchase my music there, which I think is really important to say for independent artists, support independent art. And then I've also created a a new site. It was new in 2020, thefunmanifesto.com. Many of you already have a profile there. And so you can join there and just share what brings you joy.
So Georgia Richardson writes, Jennifer, you've come a long way since our early acquaintance through my son, Reagan. So proud of you. You're incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. Bill Hogan writes that he would like to ring the bell for Giovanna, who is a wonderful, and say a special hello to Jeff Rapson. And for those of you who are visiting us, ringing the bell is a $100 donation to our Oakland Rotary Endowment. And thank you, Bill, for that. From Steve Blair, he says, fabulous presentation, inspiring us to move forward. So thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So we actually honor our speakers each week because we have a goal in Rotary, and that is to end polio now. We made a commitment back in the 80s to work together as a club and as an association of 1.2 million people around the world to eradicate polio from the face of the earth, only the second time that a disease has been eradicated. And we are this close. And so in your honor, we've made a donation to end polio now, and I hope you feel good about that.
Indeed.
Thank you. Janice Brickley.
Oh, Peter,
Yes.
there is another bell ring from Carrie Bukevich, excuse me.
Butkevich.
Bukevich for Jennifer John from her Oakland Youth Chorus family.
Oh, yay.
All right. Thank you, Carrie. Nice to hear from you. And so I believe, Janice, you are unmuted and you are going to tell us a little bit about next week's speaker.
I am. That's going to be a tough act to follow, but fortunately we have another great speaker for next week, and that is Joshua Simon, who's the executive director of EBALDC, which is the East Bay Asian Local Development Corporation. If you've been to Swan's Market, like I have many times, you know it's a place to go for great food and a lively neighborhood vibe. What you may not know is it was developed by Joshua in EBALDC as a multi-purpose project that combines affordable housing with retail and community space. So stay tuned and learn more next week.
Thank you, Janice. So I would like to send more congratulations out to our Saroni Lena scholars. Great job. We look forward to working with you over the next 4 years of your education. I'd like to thank all of those who participated, especially Jennifer. Thank you so much. We will see you next week. And in this sad time, I found it terribly inspiring to be thinking off 4 years from now, because I am confident that there are going to be significant changes. This time things feel completely different. And I'm also confident that the Rotary Club of Oakland will participate and will be helpful. So with that, this meeting of the Rotary Club of Oakland is adjourned.